causes post-traumatic stress disorder.
Welcome back to the Shelbe podcast show. In our modern life, we always have a lot of stress, a lot of fear, especially in today's society. There's a lot of bad news, and financial news, and other news surrounding us makes us fear, makes us don't have confidence, and makes us perform less. So today, I invited a special guest, and he's a doctor. He's gonna show us how to heal, how to breathe better, perform better. And his name is Dr. David Rubenstein. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shelby.
Yeah. And today we're gonna go over some of the symptoms that we all have as a civilian.
Mhm.
So, first, I'll tell us a little bit about your background.
Let's see. I started out as a fitness instructor back in 1986 when nobody knew what a fitness instructor actually was. I remember being at parties and
Right.
telling people what I did, and they said, "Well, what's that?" So that was kind of funny. But that gave me a really solid background in the sciences of exercise physiology and kinesiology. Those are the sciences of exercise and motion.
Right.
And they helped give a kind of a groundwork for me on how to construct a new program. My goal was to construct a program that would help people with chronic pain,
Mhm.
particularly with athletes.
Right.
That was my goal. In this case, I kind of overshot my goal a little bit.
Okay. So, at your clinic, Total Relief Method, you
Mhm.
help people heal, help people maybe in a depression, or maybe a case like my personal case. I just lost my mom, and we
Mhm.
talked a few times,
Mhm.
and it really helped. So you want to kind of describe, tell the audience what is civilian PTSD,
Sure.
because we normally knew that came
Mhm.
from military people who was in the army, but nowadays civilian has that symptom as well,
You're
right?
correct on all fronts. It was a term, it was originally called shell shocked.
Shawshank.
Shell shock
Okay.
was the term that came in World War One, and the term has modified and grown over time. And what the psychological community realized was that there's a lot of those same kinds of symptoms were showing up in the civilian population.
Mhm.
So it's morphed into a diagnosis of a spectrum nature, not a
Mhm.
singular. You have this or you don't have this. No, it's you may have pieces of this going on,
Mhm.
and most people do have parts of it and not others. That's kind of how it goes. But um, the I suppose the distinction between the civilian version, the military version, is the following
Okay.
issue. What happens to most people, as far as I can tell,
Uh-huh.
somewhere around 9 out of 10 people, so 90% of the population,
Mhm.
has a history of some kind of trauma, some significant singular event. Trauma can be something that happens to your body,
Okay.
an accident, a terrible accident that hurts your body. Tremendous pain can be traumatic. Losing somebody, a pet,
Mm.
um, anything qualifies as a trauma if the reaction is extreme. And sometimes the
Mhm.
reaction is more internal than external.
You mean like emotion
Hmm.
instead of on the surface
Yeah.
skin?
With the what happens is most people have the trauma in their childhood. Okay.
Okay.
And what distinguishes the military from the civilian
Mhm.
is that most people that go in the military don't realize, about 9 out of 10 don't realize that they already
They
have
have.
PTSD when they sign up.
Oh, okay.
This is the real
Right.
breakthrough,
Okay.
because then they go into the military and they see things that no human being should ever see, and yet this is part of the military life.
Mhm.
So um, they have a trauma and all the reactions on top of a trauma and all those reactions. And one of the things that we've done
Right.
is to be able to understand trauma from a non psychological point of view.
Yeah. Okay.
because everybody's looking at the psychological. Secondly, it isn't, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the evidence is on my side. And that's why I have this opinion.
Okay.
The trauma itself is not what causes the damage. What does not what causes post-traumatic stress disorder. By the
Mm-hmm.
way, it's not a disorder, it's a syndrome.
Okay.
Get to that one another time.
All right.
So what happens with the person who gets traumatized is it sets off a chain reaction. Now, the first two stages of this chain reaction are absolutely physical only,
Okay.
and I'll sort of try to make a little bit of an act of what happens.
Okay. Sure.
So a trauma happens.
Right.
I witness or participate in the trauma.
Okay.
One of the first things that I do is I breathe in
Mm-hmm.
in that kind of violent manner.
Mm.
Between that inhale that's violent and the what that I've been exposed to and how my body, my nervous system is going to react to it, what happens is that my diaphragm, main breathing muscle down here,
Right.
shuts off.
Oh. Okay.
Now, why don't we notice something so dramatic? Answer:
Mm-hmm.
there are 5 muscles that turn
Okay.
on
Uh-huh.
automatically.
Okay.
We never miss a beat. We
Like,
never know
what are those
that
five
one
muscles?
those muscles are called the upper division trapezius,
Mm-hmm.
sternocleidomastoid, scalenes,
Mm-hmm.
levator scapula, and pec minor.
Okay.
Those 5 muscles, small muscles though they are, produce at least 60 symptoms that we have documented.
Wow.
And many of them are pain syndromes.
Pain.
And the
Mm-hmm.
problem is that these, if you could see that list of diagnoses,
Uh-huh.
you would know, even doctors would know that people are getting treated for that they think the cause is something else. It's just an accessory breather that's overworked.
Okay.
Now, this produces a lot of pain, but what I really want to get into is talking more about civilian PTSD.
Okay.
So what happens is the diaphragm shuts off automatically. What must happen? There's no exceptions to this rule. Once the diaphragm shuts off, you have to hyperventilate.
Mm-hmm.
That's breathing faster than normal. That's what that means.
Okay.
Hyper means above normal.
Right.
Ventilate is to ventilate your lungs.
Uh-huh.
So this again is subtle at the
Okay.
time, so the person doesn't notice this either. And it's below the thresholds that we would say, medically speaking, or is hyperventilation. Of course, that does happen. But so now that hyperventilation is going, the third step is that the system starts to become too hypoxic over time. And it
Mm.
takes a little bit of time. At the same time, the person is going to start losing their sleep quality
Mm. Okay.
and their
That
sleep
makes sense.
quantity.
Yeah.
It starts to erode away. Now I can't repair or recover from the daily stresses, let alone this big stress.
Mm. Okay.
The next stage is what I call a trigger master.
Okay.
And once a person gets to this stage, say a year into the timeline after the original trauma,
Right.
they're going to be really caught. They're going to be really stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to try to resolve these issues, and they're going to think that they're mental. And I'm here to say that these issues, if you take a look at the physiology of the body, you will
Uh-huh.
see the physiology of the body has by far gone south much worse than all of the things that are happening with the mind. And I know that's hard for people to hear, and it's heresy to some.
Mm-hmm.
But when you resolve the breathing issue and the sleep issue and the body
Mm-hmm.
pain issue, guess what? PTSD goes away.
So no, in the in our understanding for most of the people, when all those things happen, like sleeping,
Hmm.
they will seeking doctor, and the doctor will prescribe them medications,
Yes.
right? I'm not a big fan of medication or vaccines.
Mm.
So, but from your perspective, we don't need to heal by taking those medications or any some sort of chemical pills, right?
Well, I think that there's a reasonable time for medications to be used and then an unreasonable time. And I think
Right.
that you're speaking mostly to the unreasonable.
Uh-huh.
Um, a lot of times medications provide a stopgap measure and buy a person time, like sleep, for
Okay.
example.
Yeah.
Let's say that immediately after the trauma, the person cannot sleep at all.
Mm.
Okay, that, if that's a fact, that is far more deleterious to the person's health than any
Right.
medication would ever be. Because we know that 3 days of no sleep, you will start to show signs of insanity.
Yeah.
And in fact, this is something that is done in basic training to this day in
Mhm.
4 of the branches of the military. They
Okay.
keep you awake for 3 days and they make you see what happens
Oh
to
my
yourself and
god.
other people.
Uh-huh.
People are running around and they're putting their bullets backwards in their gun. I mean, it is absolute chaos and mayhem.
Uh-huh.
But the soldiers are exposed to this, so they know what to do, what to expect. Because
Mhm.
if this happens in battle, it could be it could be death to
Right.
everyone. So
Yes.
it's important that the the structure, the hierarchical structure, that the people in charge are saying, look, you got to rest, you got to go
Right.
put your head down. Even though there's bombs going off, it doesn't matter. They're going to manage that. Sleep is so critical that there isn't anything that can substitute for it. And this is also true about sleep, is that when you are asleep, the brain is actually cleaning itself out.
Yeah, I heard this like when a person is sleeping, actually the brain is more active than we're awake, right?
Yeah, so the brain is definitely active in sleep, and
Uh-huh.
it's what it's doing in terms of memory and all that is it's deciding what memories am I going to keep, what
Oh,
memories am I going to I'm going to put it in a hold box for a little while, think about what I need to do, and then what other memories I need to just throw away.
yeah, like a computer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, very similar to our brain. So then um, something called homeostasis. This is your body's ability uh, come in for a landing, I like to call it.
Yeah.
Um, if you get really excited, your body will automatically see to it that you come down.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you'll come down fast, sometimes you'll come down slow. Also, your body's ability to ramp up into higher states of energy.
Mhm.
These are all part of that homeostasis. And something very interesting about homeostasis is it's part program and part hardware.
Uh-huh.
So, software and hardware.
Right.
And the hardware are sensors throughout the body.
Yes.
And there's a very interesting thing about homeostasis, and that's that it has a unique one off communication channel with the brain.
Uh-huh.
When the brain gets a message on this special channel,
Okay.
the brain automatically knows that there's something wrong in the homeostasis department.
Wow.
So it's like a secret code, you see.
I see.
It's not the same as, if my knee bothers me, it sends a signal. It's on
Right.
a unique channel. So the brain is alerted right away when there's something wrong. So
Mhm.
the hardware and the software of homeostasis, this is your body's innate intelligence to do the right thing in reacting to situations properly.
Mhm.
Those hardware and software elements get injured
Right.
and they stop functioning.
Yeah.
So what you have is a milieu of I can't sleep, I can't recover, which affects
Mhm.
mood and cognition.
Right.
I'm stressed out all the time. I get no rest or reprieve from my stress.
Mhm.
I'm having flashbacks about the event that was the trauma.
Mm.
Um, and so all of this adds up to, like I said, on that fourth stage,
Yes.
there's 7 stages. Um, it adds up to like a wall, you could say. And
Okay.
what's happening is that at this point in time,
Uh-huh.
people will try and they'll resolve it. Let's say chronic pain is one of the bricks in the wall. Well, let's say they're successful at it. Guess what? The wall still stands.
Mhm.
We call this intractable in medicine.
Okay.
That it's very difficult to resolve. What I found that if you approach it from a purely physical and physiology standpoint,
Mhm.
what you see is that the most important thing to human life
Mhm.
by far is the acquisition and delivery of oxygen.
Okay. Yes.
Oxygen is king.
Right.
If you can't do that one thing, every single thing, every other symptom is downstream to that problem.
Okay.
I
Right.
cannot see any scientific viewpoint that says that that's not so.
Mhm.
So breathing has these three things that it's
Mhm.
charged to do. It's more than what people think. Number
Yes.
one, to
Mhm.
capture and deliver oxygen. That's what breathing prime directive is.
Okay.
And in the case of the person who's been exposed to trauma,
Yes.
what happens is now that diaphragm's not working, the
Mhm.
consequence is they have to hyperventilate and they're still not getting enough oxygen. And the reason why is the second purpose of breathing or
Mm.
respiration, and that is to acquire and maintain a certain minimum of carbon dioxide.
Okay.
You've all been told in school, breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. That is patently false. First of
Okay.
all, there's only 19% of the uh, air is oxygen. So most of the air you're breathing in is not oxygen.
Okay.
Secondly, the carbon dioxide is 100% necessary. It is a life giving gas. It is not a life taking gas unless you do the extremes. So, how it works is carbon dioxide is used in our body to cause the delivery of oxygen.
Okay.
Without the proper carbon dioxide, the oxygen just runs around in your body and you exhale it. You never even
Oh,
use it.
okay. I see.
The third purpose of respiration is to manage the acid alkaline balance of the body.
Mhm.
So now you just look at those three things: oxygen delivery, carbon dioxide, and acid alkalinity. Any one of those not working
Mm.
causes a long chain reaction of other problems.
Right.
So the the first thing that I do is I make sure that their body is able to acquire and deliver the oxygen.
Yeah.
To do that, the body has to relearn how to use the diaphragm.
Okay.
And it's really more of a reflexive, oh, aha, in the
Okay.
body about how to
Yeah,
breathe.
because it's already programmed certain ways, right? And
Right.
then
The
you have
program's
to,
still there.
yeah, so you have
It's
to
just
kind
been
of
interrupted.
re retrain your body, kind of, sort of.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, as I mentioned earlier, because since I lost my mom recently,
Mhm.
and at first I thought, okay, of course I'm sad, but I didn't thought it was that bad emotionally.
You were unprepared for how hard
Yeah,
it was
because
gonna
I
be.
thought, yeah, because
Mhm.
when in our family we never lost anyone that close,
Mhm.
so I thought, okay, I probably all my emotion, I'll just let it be whatever until, let's say, first of the year this year. So when the year came, I I still didn't know. I still try to work and try to not think about it and work very hard, and start hit me February, which when I start
I think
meeting you
that's when I
guys.
first met you.
Yes. So what I start experiencing is 1 week I feel protected. I can, do work and I'm not tired. And the following week I start feeling a little down, depressed. I don't know why. And I start feeling, sick. Um, s- yeah. So and then I sleep. Actually, I feel tired and sleep more. And I feel start feeling procrastinating, and some appointment I couldn't meet or I have to cancel or reschedule. So
Mhm.
this pattern going on, and what you just described maybe kind of related to this as well,
Very much
similar.
so, and,
Yeah.
first of all, my deepest condolences.
Thank you.
Losing your mom is
Yes.
there's nothing to even say here.
Right.
So my condolences.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Um, there's 2 camps here.
Okay.
Every part of your description
Hmm.
was related to how your heart, your mind, I'll say your soul cries out for relief, that you're in pain, you're
Right.
grieving,
Mm.
and there's a feeling of being lost inside of that.
Yes, a little bit. Yes.
because it's so overwhelming,
Mhm.
and you still have to live your life,
Yeah.
and life doesn't care, and you're carrying this burden.
Mm.
So there's that.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not a
I
psychologist,
know.
so I wouldn't know how to um, work with you on that basis, other
Right.
than being a friend.
Of course. Of course. Yeah.
But I am a physiologist,
Yeah.
and so what I would do is I
Mm-hmm.
would take you through a breathing process.
Mm.
And what that breathing process does is it's very specific
Uh-huh.
to bringing the stress hormones in your body down.
Down. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
The angst, the upset, the stress, the fear, the anger,
Mm-hmm.
those are all chemicals and
Mm-hmm.
electrical discharges in your brain before
Mm-hmm.
you ever feel the feeling.
Mm. Okay.
So electrochemical happens first, then we feel the feeling.
Okay. Right.
So a psychologist or somebody who does counseling of some kind
Right.
would address you in that stage.
Stage. Okay.
The stage I address in is the one that's right before that.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So that what happens is that we're working to bring down the electrochemistry
Yes.
responsible for making you feel bad.
Mm.
This has the effect of the that you would be aware still
Right.
of what has taken place,
Um,
but it's not torturous to you anymore
okay. Yeah.
as it is now.
Right. I, yeah, I do kind of, because before that I was feeling more confident, wasn't so worried, afraid. And the biggest part is I don't feel loneliness somehow. Even when we have COVID lockdown, I don't even feel lonely. But now I can go anywhere. But I have this sense of emptiness somehow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
So
your mom obviously played a major role in your
right,
life, as
right.
moms do. I mean, um, and again, so this is a trauma for you,
Yes.
and we experience trauma primarily through the mind.
Oh, okay. Right.
Your descriptions, everything,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that you described
Right.
are on the list of PTSD civilian.
Yeah.
Every one of those,
Mm-hmm.
including the not feeling lonely or the change in your feelings,
Right.
um, and even not feeling sometimes is what happens here.
Okay.
So over feeling and then not
Not
feeling.
feeling okay.
Um, Let me give you an analogy
Okay.
to
Sure.
work with.
All right.
Let's say that that there's a lightning storm
Hmm.
and it's over a forest and there's a lightning strike on a tree.
Okay.
That leads to a forest fire.
Yes.
Now there's a raging forest fire.
Fine. Uh-huh.
Question: do we go looking for where the lightning strike was as our first strategy to combat the
Mm,
problem, or do
no.
we go fight the fire?
Fight a fire.
That's what I do. I fight the fire.
Okay.
The fire is a physical thing,
Mm-hmm.
and firefighters of that type. And I've had patients that were in that world of fighting fires in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They talk about fire as though it is a living entity
Okay.
because it almost has moods. It changes, and it's like
Right.
a person changes their direction, their mind.
Right.
So your um, situation is the death itself. That's the lightning strike.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's what's happened inside your body that has you suffering.
Okay. I
So
see.
after a death,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps your breathing is not optimal.
Mm-hmm.
Your sleep is not optimal. All these
Mm-hmm.
physiological things are happening. And so that's where I put my attention.
Okay.
And the treatments are designed to address a person's trauma,
Uh-huh.
not from the psychological,
Right.
purely from the physiological.
Okay.
And guess what? It always works.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the process, um, I've worked with many people who have complex PTSD.
Okay.
That's the worst kind. And
Okay.
and by the way, just so the audience knows this,
Mm-hmm.
even in the DSM-5, the manual for um, the diagnosis and the codes for this. It says right in there that complex PTSD, the worst one,
Mhm.
is nothing more than runaway chronic stress of a severe extreme nature. That's what it is. So I ask this question a lot. Where do we go to actually work on the chronic stress?
Mm.
Answer is nowhere.
Nowhere.
Everywhere you go, let's say you get a massage.
Right.
That would be working directly on the muscle tension part
Mm.
of the stress.
Yeah.
But as a
On the
big
shoulder.
picture thing,
Right.
it doesn't really address the stress on the physiological level.
Mm.
And so what I decided to do, coming from chronic pain, which is very stressful,
Yes.
is to focus everything on the stress component. So we have these
Right.
three stress hormones:
Right.
adrenaline, cortisol, and norepinephrine.
Mhm.
Those three in our system are responsible for all the stress you feel.
Oh, wow.
Now,
Okay.
if I take those out, does the death of your mom change? No.
No.
Does the memory of all the things that have happened since change? No.
No.
The only thing that happens is that we take all of the drama of that
Mhm.
trauma
Mhm. Down.
leaves.
Leaves.
It
Okay.
goes away.
Goes away. Okay.
And then you're just left with the data, what's true. You remember your reactions, but it's no longer controlling your life. And I would argue that your mom would be happier now knowing that you were not suffering so much.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, I
Nobody
was
wants you
trying
to
to,
suffer after you
yeah,
die, right?
of course. At first, I was try to compress it. It didn't work, and it blows up even bigger. So,
Yes.
yeah.
That's exactly right. And
Uh-huh.
that's again, that is your report is of the psychology, right? And
Mhm.
the trouble right here, right now in this moment is that you haven't had the treatment yet. So you haven't
Yeah.
experienced what this would be. So
Right.
I would really like to have you have that first treatment. And we could even talk then about what's
Okay.
happened
Yeah.
and in terms
Sure.
of your
Sure.
mom's death and how you feel about it. And
Sure.
there'll be a lasting relief of stress
Mhm.
replaced by some peace.
Yeah, because I can sense I'm not performing as better as before. That's
Hmm.
one thing that's for sure.
Hmm.
Cause I get tired easily. I get distraction from thinking, or I don't have much confidence because my mom was my biggest supporter. She always say it's okay, or we can try again,
I have
something
an
like that.
idea.
Something like that.
I have an idea.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's schedule an appointment,
Okay,
okay,
sure.
and then have a part two.
Part two. Okay.
And I'm perfectly comfortable with you just saying what happens
Okay.
without any, um, just saying the truth.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
could do it that way.
All right.
So you are, in my opinion, suffering from PTSD
Mhm.
right now.
I think so. I'm not
That's not a
aware of.
diagnosis. That's
Yes.
just
Yes.
as far as what are the items.
Uh-huh.
We'll look it up. It's very
Mhm.
simple to see.
Yeah. I start. Oh, I'm self-aware, but I don't know why and how to resolve it. Actually,
Well, that's why you
because I didn't have
go to me.
experience with that. Yeah. So, all right. So where people can find you?
Our office, our clinic is in Huntington Beach.
Uh-huh.
Our cross streets are Bolsa Chica
Costa
and
Chica.
Heil. We're in
Right.
the third floor of the Wells Fargo Bank building,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where our clinic is.
And I know that you have a lot of speaking events. If people
Hmm.
want to follow,
Hmm.
do you have a social media page or something we can follow?
Yes, we look up at
Mm-hmm.
totalreliefmethod.com. That would be, of course, our website, and from there you can go wherever you'd want to go, see some of the speaking engagements that I've done,
Okay.
and take a look at some of the more technical stuff that I've produced. And right now, I'm very close to being complete with a book on PTSD,
Oh wow!
and
I
it
can't
deals with
wait.
both the military and the civilian
Yes.
forms.
Okay.
It's written for um, the general audience
Hmm.
and clinicians as well. So,
Okay. So when that book comes out, you have to come back.
okay, sounds
Okay.
great.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Yeah.